Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing fantastic. What a beautiful day, and I'm so excited to come and do this video because I haven't vlogged in several days, and the reason why is because I was off. And as I was off, is a lot of things that I wanted to do in the house. I got this little project that I've been doing. I just finished painting some shelf, and I kind of stained myself a little bit. I don't know if this thing is gonna come out or not, but again, you know, I still gotta go to Lowe's, and I gotta pick up some screws and a couple other things. You know, you guys know how it is. Happy wife, happy life. And she had this great idea, and we're making it happen, and it's looking amazing. Big shout out to Stacy, because she had a great idea for our laundry room. But anyways, been working on that. I wanted to come out here and do a vlog, and I'm going to church, and what I'm going to be doing is that I'm going to be helping recording the message, and then obviously it's going to be released tomorrow. Today is Saturday, and I got a couple other things that I want to do, so might as well do a vlog. Actually, some of you guys been asking me for Got Men. If you guys remember, Got Men used to do a lot of videos with me in my other channel, and some of you guys been asking for him. He's doing fine. This morning we went in the ride, and I didn't record that. Early in the morning was about 08 when he called me, and we did a ride. And I'm going to tell you, soon, hopefully, we're going to be doing more rides, and I want to be able to connect my Cena, but for whatever reason, we couldn't do it today. I don't know what's the deal with that. But here's the thing. I wanted to talk about that, and how it's funny, because as I want to talk about this topic, there's a police officer right in front of me conducting a traffic stop. But many years ago, I want to say was in the early 2000s, you know, I think it was 2005, maybe 2006, right? And I got pulled over by guys that were pretending to be police officers. Those guys are real police officers, though. This guy that pulled me over was a fake cop, and I called him out, and because some of the things that, you know, the way that I dealt with that, he got arrested. But here's the thing, I wanted to tell you the story. I shared the story in my main channel many years ago, but you know, I got a new audience here, and I wanted to share the story with some of you guys. And again, you know, it's kind of like a longer video probably, so stay tuned. If you like this content, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let me know what you think down in the comment section below. So here's the thing, I was hanging out with a friend of mine, and at the time I was obviously in the Marine Corps. If you don't know, I spent about 11 years, a little bit over 11 years in the Marine Corps, right? And again, you know, I was a military police. Now, the military police is an interesting field in the Marine Corps, and I think the Army kind of does a similar thing, because you have different ways that you can go as a police officer. Once, you could be in the law enforcement side, or two, you could be in the field side. So what a law enforcement police officer do, obviously, as you guys know, is law enforcement, right? Deal with domestics, assault, you know, I deal with all kind of different calls. But if you're in the field side, well, they typically refer as field MPs, you deal with different things. You know, you deal more of, you know, infantry kind of stuff, right? EPW, handling, you know, you deal with area security, you deal with, you know, patrols, presence patrol, you know, protective service detail, and things like that. Obviously, you don't do not even close what an infantry guy does. Obviously not. The infantry is the infantry, and a lot of respect with the infantry guys, because they are amazing. But you do a lot of missions that a lot of times, in my case, were missions that were given to the infantry, but for whatever reason they were, you know, really busy doing their thing, so they kind of pass it down to us, right? So again, it was fun. I spend the majority of my time I spend it in the field side, and it was kind of like a choice. But again, you know, I had a blast doing that thing. Now, the thing about it is that as you go up through the ranks, you tend to change size, you know, because obviously the field side is going to make you deploy a lot. And I spent, you know, what, 14 months in Iraq. I spent about 12 months in Afghanistan. I spent time in Japan. So again, you know, primarily the deployments obviously take a toll on you, take a toll on the family and all that stuff. So a lot of guys tend to do a lot of switching. You know, they go from field to law enforcement side, right? And again, you know, it makes you a better police officer. So during this time, I was actually in the law enforcement side, which it was only a little bit of the time that I was there, right? So I was a military police working in a law enforcement capacity. But in that law enforcement capacity, and I know I'm giving you a lot of backstory, but in that law enforcement capacity, you work with the Criminal Investigation Division, and you work with all the groups, K9, and things like that. You know, kind of like basic police stuff, right? And here's the thing. I got pulled over outside the base, and if you don't know, outside the base or outside the post, as I think the Army call it, really, you don't have jurisdiction. So it's not common, or really, you never see that military police outside the base unless you work for NCIS, Naval Criminal Investigation Division, or maybe some of the Army units that do Criminal Investigation Division and things like that, partnering with detectives and things like that. Really, the basic police officer has no jurisdiction outside the base. And the same way happened with, you know, deputies. I remember a lot of deputies used to come to the base and they couldn't come inside the base because essentially they don't have jurisdiction inside the base. But I'm outside, you know, doing my thing with a friend of mine and just having a great time. It was like one of those days that I was, you know, I was a younger dude and, you know, having a good time and spending time. And I look back, and as I'm looking back to my rear mirror, I see that a guy is pulling me over. And I'm going to tell you, I was like, whoa, what's going on here? I'm getting pulled over, but it was kind of confusing. And the reason why it was kind of confusing is because the car was kind of funny. And in fact, I used to own a 97, I think, Ford Expedition. This guy had like a 98 Ford Expedition. So this guy had the same car that I had, just a year different. And again, there was no call lights. It was only some lights in the dashboard. It was just very, very weird. Not your typical police car or your typical undercover car. All right, I'm in church. Let me hit the gospel, and I come back with you with this story. All right, hopefully I remember where I was in the story. I had a great time. Now I gotta go and let me bring this down. I gotta go and edit the video so we can post it tomorrow in the church channel. But I think I was talking about when I got pulled over. And here's the thing. The guy had the same car that I had. Like I said, you know, I have an Expedition. I had, back in those days, an Expedition. And I think it was in 1997. The guy had like a 1998. I remember that it was about a year difference between the two cars. But like I said, you know, the car looked like, I don't even know like what, but it did not look by no means like a police vehicle, right? And I remember as I looked through the mirror, I saw a New Jersey plate in the front of the car. And let's just think about this. North Carolina. Why would an undercover car had a New Jersey plate in the front, right? So here's the thing. The guy comes and approaches my windows. And here's the mistake that he made. That's why I kind of went into the whole law enforcement, you know, side and kind of giving you guys an explanation. He said, I am blah, blah, blah with CID. Now, CID means Criminal Investigation Division. So essentially, he said he's with a military unit off base. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking to myself, you're not with CID. You look drunk. You have, the guy had like black gear, like a tool belt. Like cops call that a tool belt, like meaning the gun, the pistols and all that. The guy had handcuffs, but I couldn't see a pistol. So you're making a traffic stop with a car that has a New Jersey plate, that barely has call lights, and you don't even have a pistol, and you are with CID, which is a unit that is a military unit off base. Does not make sense by no means. Now, by this time, the guy that is in my side, my buddy that was driving with me, there is another guy that I actually never made contact. I didn't talk to that guy, but that guy is making my buddy come out of the car, right? And apparently, in North Carolina, apparently that's a felony, right? You can impersonate a police officer, but if you make somebody get out of the car, is a felony compared to a misdemeanor. Or I don't know the law when it comes to that. But again, you know, makes him come out of the car. So now he's talking to the guy back there, and I'm talking to this dude, right? And the guy is like, I remember he tells me something like, "Are you kidding me? Let me see your ID card." And I'm like, "No, man, I'm not gonna let you see anything. Let me see your badge, your credentials that you're a police officer." And the guy is like, "I'm with CID. Let me see your ID card." And I'm like, "I'm not showing you anything. Let me see your credentials." And they start arguing with me. Finally, I go like, "Dude, you look like you're drunk." So now at this point, I was a young buck back in those days, right? I opened the door to kind of like make contact with this guy, right? And come on and kind of see what's the deal with this dude, because I feel that he's lying to me. So I open the door, and the guy kind of runs to the car, and as he's running to the car, he kind of tells his other buddy, "Hey, come to the car," kind of like, "We've been busted." And they run to the car, but again, that New Jersey plate was in the front. So I write down the plate, and at that point, I get my cell phone, and I call CID, the real CID, right? The people that actually work with CID, and the guy answers the phone. Again, I was a law enforcement officer in the Marine Corps, so I call him up, and I'll be like, "Hey," and I remember it was a gunny. I say, "Hey, gunny, do you guys got guys working off base?" And the gunny kind of looks at me or like tells me in the phone, "No, dude, like, we don't go off base normally unless it's a major thing, right?" I said, "Well, this is what happened to me." And the guy's like, "What?" And I gave him the description of the car, and I gave him the license plate, and literally by the next day, the guy got arrested. And here's the thing, 7 counts of felony this guy had, because apparently for the last few months, these kids, that, by the way, happen to be military police, but again, they happen to be in the field side, not in the law enforcement side. They're being pulling people over. They've been making people do stupid stuff. They've been making people do all kind of stuff in parking lot. People have been complaining about them for months, and no one has been able to catch these guys because no one had any solid information. So the traffic stop that they made with me, we were able to obviously get them. And you know what? It's not cool, man. It's really not cool. I don't understand why they were doing that. I don't think it's a gang. It's just not cool to be doing that. Not cool to be harassing people, and not cool to be pretending to be cops and doing that stuff. And ultimately, they got arrested. Now, I don't know what happened, because the Marine Corps is very different. A lot of times, guys get deployed and things like that, and a lot of things get put on hold. So the guy that pulled me over, the driver, the guy that made contact with me, I don't really remember what happened to him. I know that I went to an NJP, which is non-judicial punishment. That's kind of like what the Marine Corps does, and obviously he lost his rank. And I'm going to tell you one different thing about the military compared to the civilian life is that you get punished twice. You get punished through the Marine Corps. Wow, what a gorgeous bike. You get punished through the Marine Corps. Obviously, he lost his rank. But you also get punished through the legal system. And I know that twice I had to go to court. And the 2 times that I went to court, it was kind of frustrated because they subpoenaed me to go to court. And I went to court, and I guess the case got postponed or whatever. They were like, "No, you could go home." So it was kind of like a waste of time, and it did took a long time. It was probably over a year of dealing with this thing, because I essentially got pulled over by fake cops, right? And crazy thing, the Marine Corps, sometimes there's some things that the Marine Corps does that to me is like just crazy, unbelievable. To me, what should have happened to him, it was that he should have lost his occupation. And the reason why he should have lost his occupation is because we should not have Marines that are in a military police, supposed to enforce the law, and then they break the law. It shouldn't be that way, right? If you break the law, you should not be put in a capacity where you are enforcing the law. To me, I'm not talking like a traffic citation. I'm talking like when you commit a felony. If you're committing a felony, there's no point on you trying to arrest people that are committing felonies because, you know, literally, you're not a good example. So it is what it is. But I mean, as a police officer, you expect them to hold a higher standard, right? I think everybody could agree with that. If you disagree, let me know down in the comment section below. But essentially what happened many months after that, maybe a couple years after, is that I heard a couple guys talking about this dudes again, you know, because we in the same field. It was very easy to know what happened to them, and we never worked together, but they could have been an opportunity that we would have worked together. But again, you know, what happened was that they moved from that field unit and they went into the law enforcement capacity, and the dudes, at least one of them, was actually working as a law enforcement officer, so, or military police officer. So it's just crazy that a couple years before you pretended to be a cop, you committed so many felonies, and now you're actually working as a cop. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. He could have stayed in the Marine Corps. He could have been given a different occupation, and maybe he worked doing something else. I guess we don't wave, but anyways, guys, that's the story. What do you guys think? Put comments down below. Appreciate you guys watching. Stay tuned. We got a ton of videos coming up, and as always, God is in control.